Today, we're going to be talking about the Mongolian Empire. The Mongolian Empire was one of the greatest and most intelligently run empires of all time. The extensive empire influenced the whole entire world and had a lasting impact on the connections between East and West culture, while also spreading a deadly disease in the meantime. Genghis Khan himself was also one of the greatest rulers and emperors of all time. So to get things started, we're going to talk about Genghis Khan and his lenient rule of his empire. So some examples are that Genghis Khan he allowed all religions, so he was lenient with his religions within the empire, and he was also fairly lenient to his enemies as well. So Genghis Khan, unlike many others, allowed people within his empire to have any religion that they wanted. So he was also lenient to the people that he conquered, because with the people that he conquered, he would allow them to surrender and then treat them leniently within his own empire instead of just pillaging and killing everyone like most other rulers. Now we're going to switch gears over to the spread of the bubonic plague from the Mongol Empire. So the bubonic plague reached the Mongols and their soldiers, and thanks to the massive extent of the Mongolian Empire and their connection to the West, the pathogen spread to all of Europe through the diffusion. So after the death of the esteemed Genghis Khan, one of his followers, Kipchak Khan Jami Beg, or just Johnny Beg, was devastated by the disease thought to be caused by the Yersinia pestis pathogen. This was around 1346, while Johnny Beg was attempting to besiege a Genoese trading port called Kaffa. So Johnny Beg had Kaffa pinned basically on the ropes, but then they got ravaged by the disease, and Johnny Beg had to pull all of his soldiers out because they were about to die from the disease. So since the Mongol Empire controlled the big melting pot of all of the major trade routes of the world, which is right by the Middle East, they were easily able to connect what they had in the East with the West. So because of that, the Black Death ravaged Europe when it reached there, and it killed an estimated 30 to 60% of Europe's population. So, although we've already highlighted the vastness of the Mongolian Empire, it's important to reiterate because it really helped them be that powerful and the most powerful empire of all time. So, the Mongolian Empire was the largest land empire of all of history, extending nearly as much as the area of the whole continent of Africa, which is huge. Under Genghis Khan, the Mongolian Empire was already the largest land empire of all time, and Genghis Khan had conquered more land than any other emperor of all time as well. Genghis Khan's followers and descendants were able to successfully spread the empire even more, all the way to Europe, and they also conquered all of China as well. So in order to reiterate that Genghis Khan is the greatest emperor of all time, we're going to highlight a couple of things about his life. So, Genghis Khan was born in 1162, and he was actually born with the name Temujin until he changed it when he became the Khan. He was born in a land between Mongolia and Siberia, and he had a pretty rough childhood. His father was killed by an opposing clan member, and then he was left behind from his clan, from his own clan, just deserted. So after Genghis Khan was abandoned, there were a lot of nomadic tribes in the Asian steppe that were still prominent and were still fighting against each other. So Genghis Khan was able to conquer and unite all of the nomadic tribes, and that was over 1 million people. So Genghis Khan officially got the position of Khan in 1206 after having conquered all of these people and all of this land. Genghis Khan used his extensive knowledge of affairs and of diplomacy, and he was able to manipulate the Mongols that were under him. And it's fairly similar to Confucianism, if you want to do some synthesis, because Genghis Khan put all of his smartest and most competent allies into important positions rather than just his family members. So as we already stated, Genghis Khan accepted a variety of religions, and unlike many empires, he didn't care what religion you were. Some other accomplishments of Genghis Khan that were way, way ahead of his time were that he forbade the selling of women, and he also made the enslavement of a Mongol illegal. He also adopted a new writing system, and he was also able to connect the East and the West and all of their cultures, as we said. Another accomplishment of Genghis Khan's is that his military strategy was very successful, and they wiped out the urban populations of anyone that didn't surrender. In an invasion, all cities would be threatened to be destroyed, but if they chose to surrender, the people would be spared and treated fairly. Genghis Khan intimidated the enemies to surrender, and they solidified their total military strength that way. Although Genghis Khan died before he was able to extend his empire to the fullest, his descendants, mainly Ogodei and Kublai, were able to continue the conquering, and they also conquered the Middle East, East Asia, and the rest of China. So, although the Mongolian Empire was able to connect the East and the West and all of their cultures, they also did something that negatively influenced the whole world at that time, and that was the spread of the Black Plague. So, thanks to the extent and just the sheer vastness of the Mongolian Empire, they spread the most deadly disease of all time. So, the Mongols controlled most of the world's trade and most of the world's trade routes, and they also controlled the area where all of the trade routes caved into each other. So, when the Mongolian soldiers got this new pathogen that spread this deadly disease, they spread it throughout all of their trade routes and caused one of, if not the most deadly epidemic of all time. In order to talk about a little bit more additional information of the Mongol Empire, I'm just going to give out some fun facts. So, China had never been run before by an outside power or any nomadic group until the Mongols, of course. They had a very professional task force, and they had many engineers, and they used some brand new technologies that had never been seen before. So they were not stuck or very focused on ideology, so they were able to advance their technologies further than other empires. Genghis Khan brought the new writing system to the Mongol Empire, and some Mongolians still actually use it. And they also had an international posted route called the Yam. They had standardized banknotes, fantastic cavalry, and great organizational skills, all of which helped the Mongol Empire prosper.